Alright, you guys, so we are back for part 2 of our Junkyard 862 cylinder head rebuild. Today we are going to be lapping the valves, installing the seats, the valve springs, the valve seals, and the rocker rail. So hand lapping valves is pretty straightforward, pretty easy. First of all, when we disassembled this, we did make sure to mark and order which one they came out of. So we're going to go through, put them in there, put a little grinding compound on them, and then hit them with the drill. So we'll grab the valve stem by the drill and then kind of put it back and forth, a little bit of pressure on it, grinding it down, and just, resetting that mating surface. So we are going to start with the intake valve. Make sure you have a little bit of oil in your valve guides. You do not want to do this with them dry. So we already put a little bit of oil in there. Now we have our valve grinding compound, and we're just going to take a little bit of this and get it along the back surface of the valve here, like that. So we put our compound on the back face of the valve right there, where it's going to meet up against that on the seat. And then what I like to do is take a little piece of rubber and put it on the valve stem there. That way, when we tighten our drill down on it, it's not biting super hard onto the stem. And then all we do is turn the drill, go in, out, so just applying a little bit of pressure, not too much. Now after we do that for about a minute, 45 seconds to a minute, doesn't take too long, we're gonna pop the valve back out of there. Wipe it down with a clean rag that I do not have anywhere around here. See if I can go find one. So we clean it off with a rag, same thing in here. Kind of wipe this down. And then what you want to see when you're done is pretty much, let's see. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. There's like a smooth gray ring around where the seat is. And you don't want any imperfections in it. You don't want any dips in it. You want it to be perfect all the way around, and that's how you know you're getting a good contact surface. Easier to see on here. There's a very distinct dark gray circle all the way around the outside of it, and it's not broken up in any spots, so it's definitely looks good. So now I'm gonna go ahead and do the other 7 that I have left and catch back up with you guys after I'm done with it. All right, so we just finished lapping all the valves. All the valves are in there, and all the seats look good. There's no low spots or anything like that. In all honesty, we probably didn't even really need to lap them, but since it was apart, it's always a good idea just to go through, clean it up. This is not like anything remotely close to what a valve job is or anything like that, so you're not doing a valve job or doing any serious grinding. You're just kind of cleaning them up. If there's any little like rust pitting or anything like that, it helps clean that stuff up and just get a better seat. So that part's done. Now we're gonna go through, get some brake clean it all out, clean all the valves up really nice, and then start putting the seats and valve seals in it. All right, I went through, cleaned all the valves up, cleaned the valve seats up, got all the compound off of them. Now I'm gonna go through with some little Q-tips here, just clean out the guides again, and then get ready for assembly. We just want to make sure that the guides are completely clear of any debris, anything like that. I'm actually doing this just to show you guys how to assemble it. This is all actually going to come back apart when I send it to the machine shop. The only thing that is going to be staying in there is going to be the spring seats and the valve seals. But we're going to go ahead, throw it all together anyways, just so you guys can see what you need to do. And yeah, let's let's go ahead and do it. And we're gonna install all of these. I'm gonna put a little bit of dab of oil down at the base of them, just to give them a little bit of lubrication underneath. And then these drop in with the that part facing up. Simple. Oop. There's our seats, and the springs will be able to sit on top of those like that. Now we need to put our valve seals on, which is actually pretty easy. I usually just use this, I think it's an 11mm socket or a 12mm socket that fits over them pretty well. Let me check. So I'm using a 7/16 socket, pretty much the same size as an 11mm. And if you look, it fits right over, pretty perfect. And we're just gonna go ahead, after we lube this up a little bit, you don't need to go crazy with the oil. We just slide that over, make sure it's over the spring and sitting flush on there. And then just lightly tap it on. And when you start you'll know when it gets done, because you'll start tapping it, and then you'll start hearing like a pinging sound, and that's usually the sign that it's on. Hear that? That higher pitch pinging, that's pretty much means it's seated all the way. So that's that, and now I'm gonna go ahead and do the rest of them. And there we have it, all the valve seals installed, and the little socket trick did not damage any of them. It works perfect, no issues. If you're concerned about it and don't want to use a socket, they do actually make a tool for doing that, which is basically the same thing, except it's not 6-point. So, but socket does work, and there's the proof of it. Now we got to put the valves in and the valve springs and keepers. So yeah, let's go ahead and do it. So first we're going to install the nifty $3 valve spring compressor that we built. If you haven't seen the video to that, there will be an annotation link to it in the end, where you guys can just click that and go check that out. Super cheap to make, and it works really, really well. We are going to slide our valves on up here first. Take our springs, drop those up top there. Then we have our retainers, here they are. And that side is going to go down towards the spring. That side goes to the top. We are going to center this over the valves and start cranking it down. Trying to keep it centered as we go. The more centered we keep it, the easier it is to get the keepers in. And there we go. First two installed. I'm gonna go ahead, do the rest of them, same way. So, now that all of our valve springs are in there, the last step we're gonna do, totally unnecessary because this is all gonna have to come back apart anyways to put the push rods in. We're just gonna bolt the rocker rail on and put the rockers in it just so we're keeping all this shit together. Ta-da! And there we have it. 2 completed cylinder heads. We did porting. We lapped the valves, cleaned all that up, installed our dual coil valve springs and our rocker rails. Now, if I can note anything from this entire video and the last one, I'm sure somebody's out there screaming at me, and this is going to be one of those do as I say, not as I do kind of things. Don't assemble anything on a bench that dirty. It's a really bad idea. You don't want any of that shit in your engine. The only reason I did it is because that shit is all coming back apart before it will ever run. So that's all getting torn back apart to go to the machine shop. It's getting hot tanked, cleaned, and then I will do final reassembly actually in a clean room for this engine, because I would not want any of that shit going into my engine, even the littlest bits of it. Not gonna have it. So do as I say, not as I do in this video. Don't ever assemble something on a bench that dirty. Anyways, that's gonna be it for this one. So that concludes building the heads for the Mustang. Now it's time to move on to the bottom end, where I have some pistons, but I have a shitload of stuff I gotta buy for that engine still. Crank, rods, cam, bearings, gaskets, oil pump, the list goes on. But that's it for this one. So like the video if you liked it, subscribe to the channel if you're new, follow the build along, and until the next one, I'll catch you guys later.